Welcome to True You Ministries. I'm Stacy Echeverria, your pastoral counselor. I am a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught me the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. I'm so grateful that you joined me this week. You can learn more about me and my heartfelt desire to help people much like yourself who may be at a place of pain and confusion by calling me at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344. Or feel free to email me at info@trueyouministries.com. Now, sit back, listen, watch, and enjoy the show. And welcome to another episode on True You Ministries. Today, I have special guest, Elias Tirado. He's also my home group leader, so I know him in a different capacity. Welcome, Eli. It's so wonderful to have you on the show.
Thank you, Stacy. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So today, this format of my show is going to be a little bit different. Eli is running for a seat on the Bonita School Board, which will be covering Laverne and San Dimas in Southern California. So before I get to the questions that I have for you, Eli, I would love our audience to know just a little bit about you. Just share as much as you're comfortable sharing, and then we'll get right to it.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you again for letting me be on here. And,
Absolutely.
I'm just previously retired early, and I was working for the city of Los Angeles. I've been there for a little over 20 years.
Wow.
And prior to that, I was 15 years with a bank and doing customer service. And I've done a lot of volunteer work with churches, youth groups. But recently, I was at a meeting where there was a lot of concerned moms that were talking about the opening for a seat on the Bonita Unified School Board, and they were just didn't know what they were going to do or who they could help fill that seat because they're concerned about what's going on with our schools.
Right.
So the question came up, hey, how about you? That was the question. And would you do it? And, after hearing so many lessons and so many voices in my head saying, hey, you always complain about people not running, the right people running for office or any kind of office. What are you going to do now? And that question was just resonating in my head as they're all watching, waiting for my response. And I was candid. I told them, hey, you know what? I don't want to do it, but I will do it. And they were just, so it was a last minute. I mean, I only had a few days to meet the deadline, to put my name in, to get out on the ballot. I made it. And so it's been impressive. But what the Lord is doing is incredible. I mean, I thought, okay, I'll get in, I'll do this, and then if I don't win, Lord, then I'm off the hook. You didn't do it. All of a sudden, though, Stacy, all of a sudden, people are donating, people are volunteering. And it's just amazing how everything is just rolling and falling into place. And so I'm just overwhelmed by everything that's happening so far.
That's amazing. I didn't know all of that was going on. And the whole thing is, you were not really wanting, to get in there, put your toe in there. Right. And I think to myself, well, if not any of us, then who? And when we don't offer another alternative to what's already been going on, then we cannot really expect any kind of change to happen.
Correct.
And so then because I've been praying to the Lord too. I know there's a gal in my city. I'm in Glendora, and I'm really bummed out that I can't vote for you because I'm not in the same city as you are, and that's a
Right.
bummer to me. But this is why I wanted to do the show, because I know some people that do live in Laverne, and I just want to get this out there and want people
Oh,
to know
good.
that there is an alternative, right? So one of the crossing guard in my city, every time there's a seat that comes available on city council, she's like, "Are you going to run?" I'm like, "I'm not called." And I'm not called to it yet anyway, so I just keep asking the Lord. But I really admire the fact that even though you're not wanting to, you're moving toward it, and look at how the Lord is blessing you. Even though it was a late entry,
Yeah.
that you had people that are donating, I know, to get your yard signs and all of the marketing materials, and that you made it on the ballot. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, thank you for sharing a little bit about that. Now, what then was the catalyst? And I know prior to us coming on, we just chatted a little bit, and I know that you listened to a couple of episodes of my podcast on, pornography and the effects on children and teens. But what was the catalyst that prompted you to run for Bonita Unified School District
Well,
School Board?
I am a father of three daughters,
Right, right.
and I have now nine grandchildren,
Yeah.
and they have attended the schools in Laverne,
Mhm.
and so uh, it's I've been I've been drawn to this because I really want education to be,
Right.
just it's important.
Yeah.
Education is important. But
Yes.
when you start hearing what is being said and done in the schools now
Yeah.
about alternative lifestyles, they're
Mhm.
introducing gender pronouns. They're asking the
Right,
kids now,
right,
first thing, what's your pronoun? When the kids are looking back at them like, what are you talking about? So
right,
this is there's things going on, and I don't understand. This is not right. This is not. And then the school wants to educate them in certain, um, does it mean to be a homosexual? And they
right,
start, then they have explicit books and drawings.
right.
I'm okay, they're going to call it educational, but it pretty much looks like pornography to me.
It
And
is.
it just, I mean, I couldn't take that same book and go to
Right,
the mall and say, hey
right,
kids, let's go through this book. I couldn't do that. I'd
right,
be
right,
arrested. But
right.
it's okay for the schools to do it. So it doesn't make
Oh,
sense.
no.
It sounds, yeah. And so this is what I hope I could at best be a stumbling block to this progressive culture
Mhm.
that's trying to
Mhm.
push this on our children. Yeah.
Right, right. I was watching, and I don't know who the gentleman was. He was an angry dad, and rightfully so. And he was reading from one of those books, and they had to stop him because of some of the content that was in it. At the school board meeting. And I'm thinking to myself,
Yes. Yes.
well, if it's not okay for him to be reading that stuff out loud where all the
Right.
adults are at a school board meeting, why is it okay for the children to be reading that filth?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's a
And it's
lot of there's a lot of hypocrisy there.
yeah. And what I learned from listening to one of your podcasts is the effects on the
Yeah.
children once
Yeah.
they start getting exposed to this.
Right.
You said there's some studies, and I'd
Hmm.
like to see more about the studies, but you said there's some
Hmm.
studies now that are starting to
Yeah.
show the
Yeah.
effects of these things.
Right.
And it is traumatic to kids when they start delving into this stuff and they want to see more. I was
Yeah.
exposed at third grade to I remember magazines that kids would bring
Hmm.
into school,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
that's a that it does affect your brain after a while that you're
Yeah.
seeing those things. It does affect it. So
Yeah.
thank you to those that podcast and the information that you give. It's
Yeah.
and we need to, I think, as parents, as adults,
Hmm.
I think we should be diligent in finding out what is going on in our schools, in our public schools. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There is a new report coming out by Barna. The Barna report is coming out next month with updated statistics around the effects of pornography, the you know the stats with regard to people in the church, youth as well. And here's the thing, and we're not going to talk a lot about this because you all can take a look at those or listen to those podcasts later. But it's not just an issue that males struggle with anymore. Females
No.
also,
Yeah.
and at much younger ages. So we see what's going on in the school for the push, to get children exposed to this stuff younger and younger. So
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of counseling with couples that have the sex addiction and betrayal trauma. And when I listen to the stories of the men as far as their first exposure to pornography, teens in the early teen years, but because of the technology and the easy access that kids are getting devices younger and younger, the
Right.
exposure could be as young as 5 and even
Right.
younger. And to
Yeah.
me, that's really scary because that means if they don't talk to anyone about what's going on with them, they will be struggling with this for decades.
Oh yeah.
Now, we don't want our children in bondage to this. We
Yeah.
want them to be able to walk in freedom, right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so I wanted to ask you, um there is a bill that is being pushed through Sacramento called AB 1955, and that is parents not being notified. If I'm not mistaken, they will not be notified when their children identify as a different sex, because it's sex, not gender, because gender is an ideology. It's not a real thing.
Right.
It's sex. It's male and female. There's only two sexes. This whole thing with gender
That's right.
expression and identity, that's Alfred Kinsey. That's a topic for another show. But I could go
Yeah.
on and on about that. I'm really
No.
passionate about this stuff. But
Yes.
AB 1955, we've got something going on here in California around that as well. And I know that I don't know if it's the school board or who, but there's a lawsuit to reverse
Yes.
this. So
Yes.
what do you know about AB 1955?
Well, okay. So AB 1955 was brought up to California State Assembly. Governor Newsom signed it, so it is going
Mm-hmm.
into effect. And this is going to incite teachers and administrators to essentially lie to parents or keep hidden from parents if there's any sort of, if their child, the student, is having some sort of gender dysphoria, some sort of gender
Mm-hmm.
questioning,
Right.
they are incited to not say anything to the parents and keep
Wow.
it from the parents. Now
Wow.
that is wrong. That is,
Mm-hmm.
parental parents have rights, and
Correct.
if the kid now said something, oh, I'm having trouble with drugs, oh, they can tell the kid, oh yeah, I'll tell your parents. But if they're
Yeah.
saying something else about their mental state, they can't. So this
Wow.
is wrong. This is definitely wrong. I feel like the schools now are starting to get away from being places of learning and more like
Mm-hmm.
mental institutions.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
it's not really. Uh, First of all, I'm against that. First of all, the parents should have the right to know what's going on with their children, and
Absolutely.
let the parents take care of it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
our teachers are not psychologists. They're not
No.
the doctors. They're not.
No.
They want to teach in the classroom. They want to teach the kids how to read, write, and learn arithmetic. So
Right.
what is, doing this is only a distraction for the
Yeah.
teaching, the whole academic program, I think.
Yeah.
And so this is now in law. This is in place, and there are some school districts. Huntington Beach is another one. You mentioned one.
Mm.
Also, Chino Hills is also
Mm-hmm.
another school district. There
Mm-hmm.
is a lawsuit that joined the lawsuit, and I think there's a couple more they're going to join
Good.
um, that will fight this. And I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
that this will be taken down. I'm sure Supreme Court will probably rule in favor of
Yeah.
taking it down. So,
Right. Right.
because parental rights, I mean, come on,
I
it's
know.
just ridiculous that they want to do this, and that you have to
Right.
ask yourself why. Why do
Right.
they want to do this? It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Really doesn't. So
Yeah, I mean, we've got a current regime in Washington, D.C., that, has labeled parents and grandparents like yourself as a domestic terrorist.
yeah,
And I'm like, fine, I'm a domestic terrorist.
yeah,
I'm not a parent, but I'm like, I'm going to fight for the kids, because if we don't, who will? And
right.
we're seeing over and over and over again, there's such an there is such a battle against the coming against the kids, particularly in the
Hmm.
womb, outside of the womb, in school. There is so much confusion. And
Hmm.
we are
Hmm.
living in the end of times, aren't we, where good is evil and evil is good.
Yeah,
And so there's a lot of that going on. And I don't think it's too late for parents to stand and do something, because if
no,
you don't, someone else will. And it's
right,
not going to be what you want
right.
them, to do. So, how do we set our kids up, for a future that is abundant, right? Because there's so much that's going on that the media, well, the legacy media doesn't want anyone to know about. And that is when these kids end up going through the hormone replacements and they mutilate themselves. It ends up becoming the biggest mistakes of their lives, and
Oh
they
yeah,
are damaged for the rest of their lives. And they speak out about it, and they detransition, if you will, and they're suing various medical facilities because those
yes,
facilities were giving them care while they
yep,
were making the transition. But when they decided they didn't that it was a mistake, all care was withheld from them. And
yep,
I think that's
yeah,
just pure evil.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't understand how they could think that our children. I mean, when my kids were young, they couldn't even. If you gave them a choice of what to have for dinner, they'd
They
choose candy and ice cream and cake, and that's it. They just don't know. They're children. So you
no,
can't let, and now I'm going to let them choose their gender. That doesn't
no,
make sense. It really
no,
doesn't. And and
no.
and besides what you also mentioned, the as they get older and they realize they made a big mistake, some of
Yeah.
this, and I'm sure your studies are already, it's coming out that the suicide rate has got to be higher
Yes.
in this,
Yes,
and
it
that's
is.
terrible, and it
It
shouldn't.
is. It
This
is.
is avoidable. It really is.
Absolutely.
So we need
Right.
to
And
make a stand. We
uh,
really
uh,
do.
absolutely. And what's happening in my arena with regard to counseling, and I'm not state licensed, and I'm so grateful that I'm not, but there are state licensed therapists where if a child comes in, if a youth comes in and they're struggling with identity, they have to affirm whatever it is that's going on with them. And if a parent asks, can we get to the root issues, because that's what I do in my counseling. I help my clients get to the root issues of what they are struggling with, because I don't deal with symptoms. If a parent asks, can you please get to the root issues, that's considered conversion therapy, and it's not allowed.
Mm,
And there is a movie on Epic Times. This poor mom, her daughter, who was so confused about who she was, and was regretting, and wasn't able to get the help that she needed because of
right.
everything that's in place that goes against them really getting the help. She ended up committing suicide. And
Oh.
that to me is tragic. And this mom has
Mm,
been very vocal, and she doesn't want that happening to any
yeah.
more children. And I applaud her courage. She's in the film that Robbie and Landon Starbuck did, and it's called The War on Children. They
Mm,
interviewed her a bit on that film, and it's really incredible, what's going on. But people like you and moms like her, who are vocal and who are getting out there, we need to hear your voices. So
yes.
that leads me to the next question then, and that is, what do you think is your greatest challenge in running your campaign currently? And this is an opportunity for us to know so that we can be praying for you.
Okay. Well, the biggest challenge is I'm running against an incumbent.
Okay.
Um, so I'm coming out of nowhere. No one knows, so
Right.
name recognition. And the
Right.
other challenge is only 18% of conservative Republicans, 18% in our area came out and voted in 2022.
Ugh.
We were expecting a red wave and we didn't get it in America.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and that is the main reason is because of just voters not coming out. So
Yeah.
one of our challenges is make sure to get the vote out.
Yeah.
Now, this a seat that I'm running for is nonpartisan. So
Okay.
and so whether you're a Republican, a conservative, or you're a Democrat on the left, I'm sure the Democrats love their children just as much as Republicans do. And
Yeah.
so this is if they want to keep their parental rights, if they want to hang on to that, then they need to vote me in. The previous board, there's actually there's two seats that are available. When the way it works in our area is where I live is a District 4, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's a District 5, but we're all part of the same unified school district.
Got
So we
it.
get to people in my area can vote for me. People in the
Mm-hmm.
other area of District 5 can vote for the other gentleman. His name is Mark. And so there's two of us who are running against this who could make a positive change to
Amen.
this
Wow.
school board.
Yeah.
So, but that's our biggest challenge is getting the word out, getting the
Yeah.
name recognition out,
Okay.
and letting them know that what our we are standing in front for the children, for the parents, and
Yeah.
for education, not
Yeah.
for the nonsense. My slogan right now has been common sense and pushing back on the nonsense. Uh, so that's what I'm running on, and and yeah,
I-
my yard signs and handouts will be coming out just shortly. They're at the printers now. We'll have
Great.
those next week. Yeah, and we'll be
Yeah. Yeah.
hitting the ground running is what we're going to do. So
Amazing. I know common sense. I keep saying it's really uncommon these days. We need to
yeah,
restore common sense.
yeah,
And what I'm also hearing, what is part of your platform is that you are an advocate for parents' rights.
correct. Just this is what we're going to be fighting against. I'm sure it
Right.
hasn't. Now, this last school year, it didn't come up. AB 1955 didn't come up, and I was really surprised that they didn't address it. They didn't put it on the agenda. So I'm
Wow.
sure it's going to be coming up this. I guess they were trying to keep it away from the public as long as
Mm-hmm.
possible.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm sure if it doesn't come up, it's going to come up because I'm going to make
Yeah.
sure it comes up. So
I'm glad.
we're gonna address it. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I'm really, really glad. And you mentioned the printer and yard signs and anything else. So how soon will those items be available for people to get the yard sign? Look, I don't live in Laverne, but I certainly want a yard sign. I'll put it
okay.
in my front yard, and
Yeah.
I how can people get those yard signs and other marketing materials that you've got at the printers currently?
Okay. So they could email me at EJ Tirado for the number 4 BUSD at gmail.com. That's EJ Tirado for BUSD at gmail.com.
All right.
Or
So
I'm
I
yeah, and I also have a website, and it's the same thing, www.ejtirado4busd.com.
That's great. I'm going to go ahead and get my banner going. And it's .com.
.com. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right. So for those of you that want to reach out to Eli, email is ejtirado for the number 4 busd at gmail.com.
correct.
And if you want to go to his website, it is www.ejtirado4busd.com. Make sure you get on there and get some more information. We're not
Yeah,
going to be able to cover everything on the show, but I'm sure there's going to be ways where you can also donate to your campaign? I know we were talking
Hmm.
before, right now you're looking at getting things set up electronically.
Yeah.
um
Yeah,
yeah
we're very grassroots, so we're starting from
yeah
scratch, and so
yeah
they can email me, and I will answer their questions and how to get all that in the publications of signs,
mm-hmm
and even we're working on getting the uh, either some sort of way to get the funding that we need if anybody wants to donate. So
Yeah. Oh, that's
yeah,
wonderful. And also too, they can reach out to you and touch base and find out when the yard signs or anything else are available. If they wanted to volunteer, they could also reach out to you at that email as
yes,
well. Okay.
yes, they can.
Excellent.
Hmm.
All right. Now, when is the election in November? November
It
5th?
is November 5th, but
Okay.
in California and like the rest of the country, we can vote early. So
I know.
so I think October 5th is the first day that the polls will be open and people
Okay.
will be starting to vote.
Okay.
Um, so we got a lot to do in a short period of time.
Right.
We want to get get to each person, knock on doors, and just let them know, get the word out, and
Yeah.
who's running. And if they want change, they don't. I mean, if they want to continue going the way this is going,
Right.
these the cultural shifting that's going on here, then don't do anything. But if they want to, at least say, no, we want somebody to stand in the gap, to be the
Right.
roadblock, to slow this
Right.
progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, then they can vote for me.
Yeah.
And most importantly is to get the vote out too, because
Yeah.
there's this also helps
Mm-hmm.
the others who are also in maybe
Mm-hmm.
conservatives that are on the
Right.
ballots, and
Right.
they need a vote too. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
And I know, and I hear you say the progressives and slow this progression. And the word that comes to my mind is it's really regression.
yeah,
We're not really progressing at all, not to anything
yes,
that is,
yes,
as far as I'm concerned, it's not something that I am looking at as a positive thing.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
regression that's happening here, which is really, really sad. um, Before I ask you my last question,
sure.
is there anything else that you have not covered here thus far that you would like the voters to know, especially the parents and even grandparents? Is there anything else that you would like them to know?
Well, I'd like them to know not to give up. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
like them to know not to think that it's all doom and gloom, and
Right.
there's why should I even continue? Um,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of Christians sometimes that feel like, well, if God's in control, then He's letting this happen. Um,
Mm,
the Bible teaches us to occupy, that we are to occupy.
that's
God
right.
tells us
Yeah.
when the people of Israel were taken to Babylon, the message was go over there and have families, get involved,
Yeah. Yeah.
be productive. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay, and until the Lord returns. And so this is the message that we have to have. We can't sit and just say, well,
Right.
throw up our hands and say, what am I going to do?
Mm,
No,
right.
you we
Right.
God has placed us in this country that has allowed us to speak freely
Mm-hmm.
still. I don't know
Right.
how much longer, but we still
I
can.
know.
They're trying to stop
Right.
us. That's
I
another
know.
subject.
I
Uh,
know.
and we can still vote. They say it doesn't
Yes.
matter, but no, we it does matter. Every vote counts, and
Really
uh, and
does.
so and so I think
Yeah.
that's the most important message we need to get out there. Don't be
Yeah.
discouraged. Be
Right.
encouraged, um,
Right.
and we just do your part. Your part could
Yep.
be just voting, and
Right.
that'd be great.
And that's a big deal. Thank you so much. So I have one last question for you. And I know
Sure.
you told me no hard questions.
Okay.
But this is okay. So anyway, what's your favorite flavor of Doritos?
Just the regular plain Doritos, the regular one. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, Eli, know, I just had to throw that in there
Yeah,
because,
sure.
well, jeez.
Yes, I
Anyway,
know.
well, it was wonderful having you on. I'll make sure that I post it to all my platforms. I want people to know about you
All right.
and that whole thing about occupying, right?
Yes.
I personally don't want at the end of my life to be standing before the Lord and him asking me, "Well, what did you do?"
Yeah,
And
exactly.
just be, "Well, I just waited for you to come."
Yeah.
It's like
Right? Right. Yes. That's like the example of the guy who buried
yes,
his boss's
the
money and didn't
ex
invest
exa
it.
I know, I know. And the thing of it is, the children are our greatest investment in the future.
Yes,
And if
yes.
we don't invest in them, well, someone
Mm,
else will get their hands on them. And we don't
yeah.
want that to happen.
No,
So thank
we
you
don't.
so much for doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm really
Thank you.
excited. I know the Lord's going to continue moving in all of this. And regardless of what happens, oh, first of all, last question. Actually, is this a 2-year term?
4 years.
4 years.
4
Fantastic.
years. Hmm.
Great. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And long enough to get some things moving and shaking and changing.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
grooming somebody else to take my
uh,
spot.
exactly. Exactly. Wonderful. Well, Eli, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I'm
Thank
waiting
you.
expectantly for the Lord to move in your campaign and do only what he can do.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you even having me on too.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Thank you.
all right.
All right. Well, everyone, take care and make sure you share these videos with everyone that you know. We've got to get the word out. All right.
That's
God
right.
bless you
All
all.
right. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to True You Ministries with me, Stacy Echeverria, your pastoral counselor. I'm a licensed pastoral counselor whose own journey has taught me the importance of having a safe place to discuss the harder issues of life. You can learn more about me and my heartfelt desire to help people, much like yourself, who may be at a place of pain and confusion by calling me at 626-461-3344. That's 626-461-3344, or feel free to email me at info@trueyouministries.com. That email once again is info@trueyouministries.com. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and may God richly bless you.